key unit that is known as lesson planning. How do I plan for my lesson of the day or my lesson tomorrow? Lesson planning. We're going to go through the what, the why, and the how of planning an effective lesson. Now, in this video, what are the objectives? A, I would like you to have the know of a lesson plan. In other words, the nature of a lesson plan, the significance of lesson planning, and also guidelines on how to write a very good lesson plan. B, the do. We'll go through the designing of a lesson plan practically. C, the feel. I would like you to feel that a lesson plan is part of you, empowered to be an example within your school. That teacher who consistently prepares lesson plans, even if the door. Now, before we dive into the whole lesson plan, these are the key players. These are the key stakeholders in management. A successful lesson has a lesson plan, and all these people benefit when you effectively plan your lesson. Of course, the most important learner. The learner benefits. The content that was designed by the government is effectively planned. To the teacher, you're not going to be stressed. You're going to share the success of the lesson. Why? Because you plan. Then we have the supervisors, the head of department, the head of subject, the head teacher, instructional leaders. They also are proud of you. Their goals of the well-rounded child are going to be achieved. Now, the PTA is proud of that teacher who delivers very effectively. The alumni, the former students are also proud of you. Now, what is a lesson plan? We talk lesson plan. What is it? Put simply, it is a roadmap of a lesson. It is a guide that every teacher should write to determine what to teach, the subject matter, what should students learn, the goals and objectives, how the lesson shall be conducted, the strategies, the teaching methods, and how the teaching learning is going to be assessed, the assessment. That is, in brief, what a lesson. Now, there are different formats of a lesson plan. One is what we call a detailed lesson plan, that is typical. Second one is a semi-detailed lesson plan that you can use for probably subjects like music, physical education. Then you have the daily or weekly lesson log. In some systems, you need to keep a log of what you delivered. I can have a log of what I am teaching as a swimming instructor. So those are the three types of lesson plan. Our focus is going to be on the first one, the detailed. Now, the teacher's skills in this whole planning process should be around one, formulating the objectives of the lesson. In the case of Uganda, we're proud that the objectives, either in early childhood, are listed very well in the learning framework. The objectives in primary are listed very well in the NCD. And then you want to align the assessments that you're going to that lesson to the objectives. Teachers have the tendency within a particular lesson assessments of content that you have not taught in the lesson. And 3, applying appropriate strategies, appropriate methods. I encourage you to watch my video on methods that will highlight the different strategies you can make. Now, stages of instructional planning. If I am preparing my lesson, it shall involve the following sectors. If my one, warm them up. Usually you enter class, start right away from on why, what was the choice migration. Why are you up? The warming up can be in many ways. Can be a story, a warm-up. 2, present the information. Now deliver the information regarding that. Now, it's important during a lesson there is guided practice. Can they practice? Now, after practicing, can you give them an assignment to check? But as they are doing the assignment, it will, or whether written or otherwise, then it's time to ask questions, or it's time to leave them questions. Questions about what they have learned, oral or something to do in the work, in the book, and then finally concluding, summarizing, highlighting the take-homes. Now, why do you think plan is important? Lesson plans produce wide lessons. In other words, with the lesson plan, lessons will be the same in all the streams for that matter. A lesson plan allows teachers to evaluate and reflect on their own teaching. Lesson plans enhance the teacher's confidence. Plan for the lesson. You'll have the confidence as you face time saver. Teachers that do not have lesson plans are those teachers, they are halfway the content and the bell rings. Lesson plan is very useful to know. Lesson plan is very important. Section in course of. Now, let's move to what I will call parts of a lesson plan. One of the first parts of a lesson plan. Now, the objectives can take several forms. Objectives relating to the content. Objectives relating to the performance standards. It could be objectives that are related to the competences you want them to. The second part of a lesson plan is the content. Third unit, either learning resources or call them lesson plan. There is a section of procedure. Have a look at this. This is one of the procedures that I pray that many teachers in Uganda but hey, springboard, you're starting off. The activities, the analysis. You know, when you're starting a lesson, eyes, can they get into an abstract level? You started off with the number x plus 5 equals 10. Can they now move into abstraction? And the problems? can they apply those situations within it? They add comments like, why did we really apply that knowledge within a setting, valuing, or what values do you want to impart? Then evaluating, and finally, a section of what we call agreement. A lesson plan, whether the lesson went on very well, time also of reflection. Now, I've given you an overview of the different parts of a lesson plan. Now, I would like to take you through some different templates of lesson plans that you can borrow based on in the class you're teaching. Now, of course, in this particular regard, there could be a lesson plan that is adopted at a district level. You indicate the name of the school, learning center, you indicate on who the facility learning strands you are having, you indicate the can be content, the objectives can be regarding performance objectives and related to the competences, or that get onto the content you are teaching that particular lesson, which is references, the textbooks. Now get into the procedure. Don't forget we said the remarks, and then when it comes to reflections, what do we mean? What can be included within? Now, I have here a sample of a lesson plan for competency-based system. Get the name of the school, the subject I'm teaching, the name of the class I'm teaching, the term, the date the lesson is taking place, the time the lesson is taking place, the duration, 30 minutes, is it 40 minutes, is it double, the number of pupils present. I indicate the theme that I'm going to focus on, then the topic, then the competence I'm focusing on, the learning outcomes, the skills that the values. Now, also you talk about the cutting issues. What are cross-cutting issues? I could be teaching history, but then there's a cross-cutting issue of additions that is borrowed from math, and then the key learning outcomes at the end of this lesson. This is what will be measured. Now, it's important to also note the for learners to understand this topic, what previous knowledge do they need? The learning materials that I'm going to use. Have another sample here of a lesson plan. So here we go. The name of the school is African Institute of Learning. The teacher's name, Walusimbi Jonah. The subject, biology, or date of the lesson. So you indicate the time the lesson is going on, the duration. That is it, P3. Subject code, that is if in your school. Subject, the average age of the learners, expected students, 8. The actual students, how many are they? They are 8. Oh, excellent, 100% attendance. The subtopic, the learning outcomes. The learners should be able to explain this, reflect on this, draw this, the prerequisite knowledge that they need to have, and the references that you are going. And I provide you another sample of a lesson plan. So at the top, you have the date, you have the class, the time, the number of pupils, subject, the topic, the subtopic, the subject competences that you're going to, and also the language competences that you're going to develop, the skills and values, the teaching methods, the instruction. Now, remember, we did mention that within a lesson plan, there is a section we call procedure. I gave you one version of the procedure. Now, I would like to give you another version that is common here within Ugandan schools. Time you indicate from 8 to 8:10, it will be step 1. Activities, the pre-stage. Indicate what the teacher's activities are in the pre-stage. The teacher warm-up song. The teacher introduces the topic by telling a story. What are the learners' activities? The learners are participating in the song. Then stage 2 or step 2, lesson development, which we call the wild stage. Now, wild stage, what is the teacher doing? What are learners doing? The third stage, the sharing of experience, the post stage. Learners doing, they're in groups, sharing the information. And then the evaluation. How did the lesson? Now, at the bottom of this lesson plan, talk about your achievements. Talk about your challenges. What's the way forward to ensure having a good lesson, to make advisor, the head of department of the DOS can also make his marks. Now, remember, I did mention that when you're filling in the reflections, these are some sample reflections that you can learn. How many you can learners understood that out of my class of 5 passed the example that by your number? How many learners require remedial help? Planning a remedial. When do you plan the remedial? What teaching methods have worked well? Where did you find difficulty? Yeah. What innovations did you bring about that are worth celebrating? Those are what can be part of reflections. So we have gone through the journey of what a lesson plan is, the components of a lesson plan, and then what is involved, or what you need to note when you're making comments on your strength standards that we have outlined.